What's cracking, y'all? Welcome to I Am Boo. Thanks for coming through for our Fantastic Four spoiler-free review. I liked the movie. It was good. In fact, it was really good. Now, I'm not one of these people that always running around, Marvel's back, Marvel's back, Marvel's back. I probably don't like nearly as much of the Marvel movies in their entirety as much as you do. And post Endgame, it has definitely been hit or miss, but when they have missed horribly. But this is definitely one of the better movies post Endgame, no question about it. It was better than what I thought it was going to be. I didn't think it would be trash, but it was definitely better than what I thought it was going to be. And any of the small concerns I had about the movie going into it, which really wasn't many, they were laid to rest. As for the plot of the movie, it was a very solid plot. It was very streamlined. There wasn't a whole lot of branching subplots everywhere that all comes back together, that asks the viewer to keep track of these little bits and pieces because it'll all make more sense once the movie is over. Not saying I have a problem with that, but this wasn't one of those movies. It was very linear. For the most part, it was very streamlined, which allowed me to just kind of sit back and turn my brain off more and just watch the movie for what it was and follow a very easy, uncomplicated plot. And when you do that with movies, you allow for a stronger structure, and it makes the structure even more solidified if you execute and you make it good. And the Fantastic Four made it good. They didn't overcomplicate things, and it worked. As for the theme, I'm pretty sure most of you know the theme of the Fantastic Four is family. It should always be family, and they delivered on that, and they delivered on it in a much broader aspect as well, branching the theme of family not just, to the Fantastic Four members themselves, but to their entire planet, to the entire world. At some point in the movie, the entire world comes into this family value, and everybody's picking each other up and working towards one common goal. I'm not trying to get into the spoilers. I'll save that for a different video, but the overarching theme is definitely family, and it expands beyond just the heroes themselves. The pacing in this movie was very quick, similar to Superman. If you've seen it, if you haven't, recommend going to check it out. Similar to Superman, this movie, once it starts jogging, it starts running, and it does not stop for the most part. And also similar to Superman, I think this movie could have benefited from having a longer runtime. Maybe when the movie ended, I didn't want it to end. I felt like we could have gotten more from even some of the Fantastic Four characters, got a chance to spend more time with them and dive more into their character and into their lifestyle. I definitely could have felt that. But the movie, like I said, after the first 15-20 minutes, it starts running and it keeps going. You jump right into the conflict, and then from then on out, it's how to solve this conflict. And that's pretty much going to happen when you have a runtime that's closer to 2 hours instead of 2 hours and 30 minutes. You're not going to spend too long on some of the points that support the overarching plot before moving into the next segment. That's just going to happen with them when movies are on the shorter end, especially when you have a cast of characters that you're trying to focus on. Speaking of characters, the Fantastic Four, right? They nailed it. I think they casted each of these characters perfectly. Pedro Pascal, I know a lot of people are tired of seeing him, but he has been the best Reed Richards, hands down. There hasn't been a better Reed Richards in any Fantastic Four movie. He absolutely nailed that. That guy can act his ass off. He can act his ass off. And he really captured the essence of Reed Richards as Mr. Fantastic. And he's not a cocky character, but he's a confident character. And sometimes with all his knowledge and all his intelligence, sometimes he tends to overthink things, or always tries to find a scientific approach to anything and everything, but that's just how his brain functions. That's just how he is. and he captured that perfectly. Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman. God, I love that woman. God, I love that woman. Reed Richards, you are lucky to put a baby in that one, brother, because if you wasn't, I was going to bend down on one knee, put the ring on her, and start a family myself. Oh, that girl's beautiful. Yeah, she is a woman, and she is a beautiful Sue Storm, and she acted the part perfectly. Not just from the hero aspect, but from a mother aspect, from a wife aspect, from a sister aspect, from a sister-in-law aspect. She nailed that. She had charm, she had charisma, she had that ferocity as a mother. She was able to flip that switch from a calm, docile mom to a fierce and combative mother to protect her family, to protect her child when necessary. There was a scene in there I really liked when they were in an altercation with Silver Surfer, and once Sue Storm, I don't know if I can say this is a spoiler. I think this is a spoiler. It's a major plot of the movie, so I don't know if I should say it, but let's just say this. Once she felt like Silver Surfer was a threat to her unborn baby, she basically told her brother, the Human Torch, to kill her. She said she has to die. She has to go. She's a threat to my child. Kill her. I was like, that is a protective mother coming out. That was a great scene, by the way. A great scene. When you watch the movie, you'll see what I'm talking about. And her chemistry with Pedro Pascal, Reed Richards, was really good. I was sold on their relationship. I was sold on their marriage. I didn't think the chemistry was as good as Lois and Clark's in Superman 2025, but it was damn near as good. Solid. Johnny Storm was good. He wasn't the womanizer that he was, or that we've known him to be historically in Fantastic Four history, but the movie really didn't lend itself to portray that version of Johnny because those opportunities weren't really there if he did have that in him. They mentioned it briefly about how he likes women and how he likes space, yada yada, but he wasn't really in contact with any attractive woman outside of the Silver Surfer, but he definitely expressed how attractive she was. The best version of him? No, I would still have to give that to Chris Evans. He embodied Johnny Storm better, but I think that has more to do with the script, not so much the acting. But I even like Chris Evans acting better. But one thing they did tap into with Johnny Storm here that they haven't done in previous movies is that he is also smart. In previous films, they always played more into the playboy aspect of him, but people forget, he went on this trip for a reason. He wasn't just Sue Storm's brother. That's why he got to go on this voyage into space. This guy is actually smart. He's a scientist. So they actually, made him come off as more intelligent than what we've seen him in past films. So I thought that was good. He held his own. Ben Grimm as the Thing. I like it. This is hands down my favorite version of the Thing in all the Fantastic Four movies. Now, of all the characters, of the Fantastic Four characters, I think he got the least amount of character development, but it was still good nonetheless. At this point, Ben Grimm has already been the Thing for years now. The Fantastic Four have been doing their things for years now, so we missed that phase of Ben Grimm coming to terms with his new body and what his life is going to be now as the Thing, not having his old human body anymore. So we get to skip past all that, and he's already at peace with that. And they basically just kind of, I guess, tease or introduce a potential love interest that might spark in a future movie. But they basically just introduce him to this random woman that's a teacher, but they don't really get to spend a lot of time with each other in the movie. So that's something we can look forward to in future movies. Maybe. If they're still on this earth, maybe. We'll see. But no pun intended, he definitely came off as a sturdy rock-like structure, the rock, a solid foundation to the core family values. I do believe that. But he could have definitely benefited from a longer runtime and his, personality and his side story. Silver Surfer was good. These were one of my concerns going into the movie, but Silver Surfer was solid. One thing I really liked is that we actually got like Silver Surfer in her action scenes. She was actually surfing, like surfing on different biomes, surfing on different debris, surfing on different elements. Like it was actually giving off a surfing vibe through like a wave or a vortex or whatever. Like it was really cool. The Silver Surfer scenes were cool, and Silver Surfer got more character development through some research and backstory, where we got to find out more about her, how she came to become Galactus's herald. And she even had her own little character arc condensed in this 2-hour film. But again, we could have got more depth with her and spent more time with her alone with a longer runtime. I think the film would have definitely benefited off that. Galactus. Galactus was Galactus. The bar was low. The bar was on the ground when it came to topping what we saw from Galactus in Rise of the Silver Surfer many years ago. Galactus was damn good. Damn good. But I question his power scaling, and I also question the Invisible Woman's power scaling based on an interaction they had in the film. I'm wondering if she's OP or he was nerfed. One of the two had to happen. But yeah, Galactus was cool, and I actually thought it was cool how they showed him devouring planets. It wasn't a big version of him that's bigger than a planet and he's just like grabbing it with his hand or consuming it in his mouth or opening his chest and absorbing it or just absorbing the planet, nothing like that. It was just he's chilling in his machine, his lair, and you know, the machine is actually breaking down the planet and, you know, sending it through a transport system inside, which Galactus then consumes for energy. I thought that was kind of cool. I thought that was an interesting way to do it. I'm not a Fantastic Four comics fan, so I don't know if that's comic accurate or not. You can tell me in the comment section, but I thought that was a cool way of showing how he does consume the planet, being that he's not the size that we've seen in comics where he's just like has a planet in the palm of his hands. They don't, in the movie, they don't really get into if he changes sizes or not. We only see him as this size throughout the entire movie. But a lot of people felt that he was terrifying. I didn't find him terrifying personally, but I could see why people would think that without spoiling anything and his what he demands of the Fantastic Four, we'll put it that way. The CGI and special effects in this movie was really good, actually. They were solid. There wasn't many moments where I felt like it took me out of the movie or I questioned the CGI. The only parts where the CGI looked bad is when the Thing was in direct contact, like holding a baby. And during those moments, you could clearly tell the baby wasn't in his hands and the CGI on the baby just looked off. Not as bad as the Flash CGI babies, but you could tell both of these things didn't belong together and that he really wasn't cradling this baby or holding this baby. I don't understand why more films just don't use real babies more often. I don't know. The action in this movie isn't going to blow your socks off by any means. There's really not a lot of high octane action scenes like super impressive fighting or, you know, team up maneuvers, combat, things like that. If that's what you're looking for, this movie is not going to do it for you. There are no memorable fight scenes with great fighting choreography or anything like that. It does not exist in this movie. It does not. Nobody really ever throw hands with Silver Surfer. Any of the interaction with Silver Surfer has to do with a chase scene. Either somebody chasing the Silver Surfer or Silver Surfer chasing them. And any of the times they're fighting Galactus, he's more or less tanking all of their attacks or seems mostly unbothered. There's like a couple times they maybe got him to flinch or, you know, come off kilter a little bit or restrain him for a little bit, but it was mostly ineffective. By the way, I don't even think Galactus in this movie is larger than legendary Godzilla. I think legendary Godzilla towers over this Galactus. And I'm not saying he could beat him in a fight, I'm just saying he's smaller than him. So from that perspective, it left a lot to be desired. By the way, Mr. Incredible's stretching never looked so good before. The cinematography was good. There weren't very many shots that stood out to me as having like a great, cinematography moment. I think the best one didn't have to do with the heroes at all, in my opinion. It was a scene of what I believe to be Times Square in this future or retro futuristic world where Reed Richards and Sue Storm are outside with their baby in the cradle, just having a heart-to-heart, a heartfelt conversation at nighttime. And the perspective was really good. It was really good. The retro futuristic nighttime with the camera shooting angle, it was really good. That scene really stood out to me. There was no action at all. It was just conversation. But aside from that, they did an amazing job building this retro futuristic world. It was incredible and it was immersive. Visually, it was stunning and I loved it. And there were many moments in the movie where I was just so captivated about what was going around or what was going on in New York, where I was like spending time trying to focus on what are the billboards saying? What are the advertisements? What are the restaurants? What are people doing? What are the things that are building this world, that are keeping this world together? All the kinds of activities. And I was able to spot out some things. Copper tone sunscreen has made its way into this universe. Little Caesars is in this universe. Lucky Charms is in this universe. I figure you'll probably spot that easily as Johnny Storm is seen throughout the movie eating Lucky Charms cereal, even if it's straight out the box. There were a couple more advertisements and companies that exist in our real world that I did spot in the movie in their retro futuristic way, but I can't remember what they were. I spotted a couple more. It was my first viewing. I didn't bring a notebook to write these things down, and I have a bad memory, but there were a couple more that I did recognize in the movie. So you'll probably find yourself doing that too if you find yourself that interested and invested, trying to pick out, oh, I know that, oh, I know that, oh, I know that, okay, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. Like, what movies are these guys watching? Things like that. With that being said, how fleshed out this world is, I can imagine there are a million Easter eggs in it that one of these dedicated YouTubers are going to put out a video about it soon, breaking down all the Easter eggs. I can't even imagine all the Easter eggs. The soundtrack was good. I liked it, especially I don't know if it's the Galactus theme, but I thought that was a good sound piece, as well as the Silver Surfer. And I mean, who doesn't like the Fantastic Four? Anyway, I really liked the movie. Like I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give this, it's definitely one of the better Marvel movies post Endgame. Definitely. Am I saying it's the best Marvel movie since Endgame? No, I'm not saying that, but it's definitely up for discussion. It's definitely up there with both Spider-Man movies post Endgame. It's definitely up there with Shang-Chi. It's definitely up there with Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and Deadpool and Wolverine. It's that solid of a movie. It's a good quality film. And it's better than everything else that I didn't mention, especially Thunderbolts. This was a sound and cohesive film that did not leave many plot holes or many moments where you're scratching your head like, I wish they could explain this better, or this could use some more context or more fleshing out. There wasn't many of those moments. If I had to pick, it's probably just one. I would like to see how Johnny Storm became such a perfect linguist with a foreign language. But we'll get into that in the spoiler review. All right, that's all I gotta say about it. Appreciate y'all for stepping in. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified. That's all I gotta say about it.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.